Title: Terrifying phone porting scam stealing millions, but cybersecurity experts say it's unavoidable. Mobile phone porting fraud is on the rise, stealing the identities and money of unsuspecting victims. Claire Ryan recounted losing tens of thousands of dollars and her identity due to mobile porting fraud. Scammers port the victim's mobile number to another device and gain access to their personal information. As per cybersecurity experts, phone porting scams are unavoidable, leaving victims with no option but to be vigilant and take necessary precautions. Victims are advised to immediately contact their bank, phone carrier, and cybersecurity agencies in case they fall prey. Title: Treasury gift register exposed in FOI documents. In Australia, Treasury staff are required to register all gifts received, with those exceeding $100 being publicly disclosed. However, ABC has obtained Freedom of Information documents revealing the gifts below $100 that were given to the staff in the past financial year. The items range from a silver pin from Indonesia's president to boxes of Estonian and Lithuanian chocolates, and even 5 Slovenian crocheted lace doilies. Treasury Secretary Stephen Kennedy turned down 7 gifts and surrendered them to the Treasury Library or stationery cupboard. This gift register is crucial in avoiding potential conflicts of interest within the Treasury. How sand pumping helped shape the Gold Coast Superbank surf break. A remarkable feat of engineering is the secret to the Gold Coast's iconic surf break. The Superbank is one of Australia's most famous surf breaks that produces perfect hollow barrels. However, it wasn't always like this. The Superbank only existed for a generation, and its origin is in a jetty in the Tweed. Every year, roughly 600,000 cubic meters of sand drifts past the Gold Coast. Sand pumping helped to shape the iconic surf break, but there was a trade-off. Former surfing world champion Wayne "Rabbit" Bartholomew understands the history and mechanics of Coolangatta's surf breaks. Medical regulator probes drug prescription allegations at Victorian prison. The Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency (APRA) is investigating allegations of improper prescription of addictive opioid substitution drugs at a jail in Victoria's East. The investigation centres on allegations that a staff member at Fulham Correctional Centre prescribed drugs such as methadone without the relevant qualifications. The prison is run by Geo Group Australia, a major prison contractor that is set to take over the delivery of healthcare across most of Victoria's male prisons. A former Fulham prison worker who was subcontracted to Geo raised concerns about the issue, which was later referred to APRA. After 10 years as a referee, Alex came out as transgender. She was met with mixed reactions on the football field. Alex Eagleton spent a decade refereeing football in Canberra, but when she transitioned over the past 5 years, she experienced subtle microaggressions and felt uncomfortable on the field. While her immediate group of referees gave overwhelming support, being a gender-diverse person on the sporting field came with challenges. Similarly, Canberra footballer Roxy Swart's journey as a non-binary person on the field has been met with some aspects of homophobia or transphobia. While sport has come a long way in accepting gender-diverse people, there is still a way to go. Title: Graziers lose touch with the sky as weather radar goes down. In the heart of southwest Queensland, where the majority of Australia's livestock is raised, graziers are being left in the dark as weather radar coverage has gone down, causing a blackout zone. Without the Bureau of Meteorology's BOM data, farmers are unable to prepare for incoming weather. The BOM is actively working to rectify the issue, but until then, farmers must rely on their own experience and observations to forecast weather. With the world in a climate crisis, it's important to address these types of technological failures before they have irreparable economic and environmental impacts. People who were adopted out as children call for standalone trauma support service. Andrea, a survivor of forced adoption, has struggled with the trauma for decades. She discovered she was adopted at the age of 5 and has since found it hard to celebrate her birthday. Recently, she has vowed not to celebrate it anymore and wants to see a trauma support service created for forced adoption survivors. Andrea is not alone in her struggles, as many adoptees and mothers who lost their babies and children are also struggling to put the pieces of their broken lives together. They are calling for more support to be given to survivors of forced adoption. Abseiling business future uncertain over safety testing requirements. Aardvark Adventures, a popular abseiling experience at Tasmania's Gordon Dam, is in jeopardy due to safety recommendations. The operator has been asked to follow through on 3 safety measures before renewing its license by Hydro Tasmania, the licensor. The business owner has called on the state government for financial assistance to resume operations, as the safety issues are minor. Hydro Tasmania had engaged an independent consultant to assess the abseiling equipment, which led to the safety recommendations. The future of the abseiling experience remains uncertain, with the operator and Hydro Tasmania yet to reach a resolution. From Bazball to Live Blogs, everything you need to know ahead of the Ashes. Cricket fans all over the world are gearing up for the most highly anticipated Ashes series in years, which starts on Friday at Edgbaston. This is the 73rd Ashes Test series, played by international cricket's oldest rivalry, and Australia is the current holder. However, they haven't won a series in England since 2001. The first test of the Ashes series begins on Friday, June 16 at Edgbaston. You can watch it on Channel 9, 9Gem, or 9Now, while every single ball of the Ashes will be broadcast on ABC Radio in partnership with BBC Test Match Special. Don't miss the interactive blog on ABC at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Farms are getting bigger but suffer from fewer new farmers. Farms across Australia are being bought by local buyers, leading to bigger farms but fewer new farmers. Pinaroo farmer Wade Nichols, who has grown his family farm to around 8,000 hectares over the past 25 years, says bigger farms need more employees to operate, which can then bring new people to the region. However, the challenge is attracting them. While larger farms offer greater employment opportunities, there is still an issue of getting people to work. According to Jared Greenville, the executive director of the Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics and Sciences, the pressure on labour and availability of employment for farmers will continue. Title: Australian companies successfully trial 4-day work week. A report by Swinburne University of Technology has found that companies who trialled a 4-day workweek model continued it after a pilot. The 100-to-80-100 model allows employees to work 80% of their previous hours but receive the same pay, as long as they maintain 100% productivity. Companies reported a 70% increase in productivity, fewer sick days taken and better employee retention and recruitment. Melbourne software company, Our Community, trialled the model as part of a global pilot program and has since adopted it permanently. The report suggests the 4-day work week is a viable and beneficial option for businesses and employees alike. Title: Brisbane Lions struggles at MCG continue, an analysis of AFL teams' poor performances at certain venues. The Brisbane Lions have lost their 12th consecutive game during the home and away season at the MCG, raising concerns about their September hopes. Despite being one of the top 4 sides, the Lions lost to the struggling Hawks, and their coach, Chris Fagan, was unable to explain their poor performance at the ground. This raises the question of whether some teams struggle at certain venues, and if familiarity with the ground plays a significant role. While some teams thrive on the habits of home, others find solace on the road. We take a closer look at the worst losing streaks in AFL, VFL history and analyse what makes some teams struggle at certain venues. Fishers gobsmacked by record-breaking haul of illegal crab pots. Marine Park Rangers and Fisheries officers have conducted a 3-day cleanup operation in Palmerston Passage, southeast Queensland, and removed a record-breaking 195 ghost pots. The pots were suspected to have been left by recreational and commercial fishers and could have trapped and killed marine life, including turtles, dugongs, dolphins and whales. The cleanup crew found live wobbegong sharks and crabs in some of the pots, while the bones of a turtle, cormorant and a shovelnose shark were found in others. Fishers are urged to be responsible and look after their equipment to prevent the trapping of marine life. Title: Northern Territory's first water plan targets safe drinking water for remote communities. The Northern Territory government has released its first water plan, with $13.5 million allocated for its implementation over 3 years. The plan aims to provide continuous water supply and improve the quality of water across remote communities. The government will work with the federal government to establish safe drinking water across remote communities, with the plan including current water security projects to move away from reliance on the Darwin River Dam for water supply. Indigenous participation in water management and water science for sustainable development are also highlights of the strategy. The plan will support the government's target of a $40 billion territory economy by 2030. WA government stands firm on Aboriginal heritage reforms despite growing calls for delay. The Western Australian government is standing firm on its plans to implement the revised Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act on July 1, despite concerns raised by industry and landholders about the lack of clarity surrounding the new approval process. The legislation will replace the controversial Section 18 process that allowed Rio Tinto to destroy the Juukan Gorge in 2020. The new act sets out a tiered system of due diligence based on the level of ground disturbance and range of exemptions, as well as fees for service for management plans for large businesses. Penalties for causing serious harm to Aboriginal cultural heritage can result in prison time and fines of up to $10 million for corporations. Australia's energy woes shift west as states' power and gas prices head skywards. Western Australia's energy market, once a robust and steady sector, is now facing supply strains and soaring prices, with buyers forced to pay 5 times more for gas than just a few years ago, making it the most expensive in the country. The state's aging coal-fired power stations, which traditionally supplied around a third of the energy consumed in the state, is another key issue. Experts predict that the situation will become more challenging as the state transitions to renewable energy. Meanwhile, buyers and sellers in the spot gas market are facing issues with tight supply and prices higher than those on the East Coast. Title: Behind the scenes of Indiana Jones' final adventure. Phoebe Waller-Bridge shared in a Zoom interview with ABC News that she spent her time on set with Harrison Ford playing crosswords and chatting with him. Dial of Destiny is the 5th and final installment of the Indiana Jones franchise, where Waller-Bridge plays Jones's goddaughter. The story follows Jones in 1969 as he races against time to find a mystical dial against a former Nazi. The new characters will include CIA operative Mason played by Shawnette Renee Wilson. Fans and cast members alike rave about Harrison Ford's energy and the privilege of working with him. Title: Broome Hospital staff report increase in aggression and threats, making 1.5 code black calls a day. Broome Hospital staff are facing an alarming rise in aggression and threats towards them, as patients battle longer wait times and community crime continues to increase. The WA Country Health Service (WACHS) has reported that the hospital staff make an average of 1.5 code black calls a day, which is twice the rate of 2021. While staff shortages have impacted hospital services, drug or alcohol use, and frustration levels of patients and their families have contributed to the rise in aggressive behaviour towards nurses. Health Minister Amber Jade Sanderson said any violence against hospital staff was unacceptable. Title: The myth refusing to die about the voice in the Parliament debunked by fact-checkers. Fact-checkers have once again debunked a widely shared myth about the voice to Parliament, which claims that there is a secret list of proposals or demands related to the proposed body. The myth started spreading online, with claims that these proposals were obtained through Freedom of Information laws. However, it was found that the supposed secret documents released under FOI laws were merely minutes from regional dialogues held by the Bipartisan Referendum Council more than 6 years ago. Fact-checkers have repeatedly debunked the myth, which continues to be pushed by some No campaigners, including Jacinta Nampijinpa Price. Title: Students from remote community use space-inspired technology to tackle infrastructure challenges. Students from Nanambala, a remote community of around 100 residents in the Northern Territory, have found a way to design infrastructure solutions for their community using space technology. The Kids in Space National Space Education Program provided 3D printing technology to students from 7 schools across the territory, encouraging them to design practical solutions to problems in their communities. The Nanambala students created models of a telecommunications tower, health clinic, and airstrip, all of which their community currently lacks. The program's organisers hope to inspire kids to consider a career in Australia's space industry while addressing infrastructure challenges in their communities. Canberra man who allegedly used a rifle to shoot at car with baby inside told driver he wouldn't miss next time. Chris Payne, a 36-year-old man, has been charged with discharging a loaded gun at a person and the unauthorised possession of a gun. Mr. Payne allegedly shot at a car with 2 people and their infant inside, telling the driver that the next time he would not miss. The victim was selling a motorcycle and had arranged a set-up time with a man known to him as Chili in Turner. Mr. Payne and Chili were among the men who approached the victim, with Mr. Payne holding a .22 caliber rifle. After the victim drove off, Mr. Payne allegedly fired at the car, causing the couple to drive to a local police station and report the incident. Police dig up mine shaft in hope of solving baffling WA outback murder mystery. Western Australian police have returned to a century-old mine shaft in the remote Midwest region of the state to continue their search for clues in the suspected double homicide of amateur prospectors Ray and Jenny Kellett. The couple disappeared while camping near Sandstone in March 2015, and only Mr. Kellett's remains were found, almost 3 weeks after their disappearance, in the Bell Chambers mining area. Police have begun a painstaking search of the area, using mining and abseiling equipment to excavate the mine shaft and sift through debris in the hope of finding missing pieces of the puzzle. Title: Chronic pain sufferer Daniel struggles to find opioid prescriptions. Daniel King has spent months looking for a GP willing to prescribe him opioids for his chronic pain. The prescription volume for opioids has dropped 30% between 2016 and 2021, causing distress for long-term users like King. Hydrotherapy and exercises help, but King says he cannot function without opioid painkillers. The shift away from opioids has led to acute mental distress and, in some cases, suicidal thinking for people who rely on them. While the Therapeutic Goods Administration advises opioids are no better than placebos for chronic pain, some doctors, like Rodney Catton, believe they have a limited place in providing increased quality of life. Alex Greenwich outlines hateful abuse he says he suffered after Mark Latham tweet. Independent MP Alex Greenwich is suing New South Wales One Nation leader Mark Latham for defamation after a graphic tweet was posted in March. Greenwich claims to have received hate mail, homophobic comments, and threatening phone calls and messages from members of the public after the tweet, which was retweeted and seen by at least 6,171 people on Twitter. In court documents, Greenwich alleges that Latham's tweet conveyed the meaning that he engages in disgusting sexual activities and is not a fit and proper person to be a member of the New South Wales Parliament because he engages in disgusting sexual activities. The case is set to be heard in September. Title: Adelaide carer criticises SA budget's cost of living relief as insufficient. South Australia's budget announcement has failed to address the rising expenses of households and businesses, according to the state opposition and a business group. Though the industry welcomed changes to stamp duty for first home buyers, Elizabeth South resident Sarah Walker, a carer, called out the government's $127.2 million energy bill rebate and concession payments indexation as insufficient Band-Aid measures. While the budget included allocations for food relief charities and financial counselling services, small businesses such as Café Primo Dernancourt still struggle with rising inflation, rental prices, and power bills. The SA Council of Social Service CEO Ross Womersley also called for more government spending to address cost of living pressures. Hashtags Coast Guard arrests 9 survivors from capsized migrant ship as fears grow of hundreds drowned in seas off Greece. The Greek Coast Guard has arrested 9 survivors for their alleged role in the smuggling ring behind the shipwreck that killed at least 78 migrants. The boat, carrying between 400 and 750 people, capsized and sank in deep waters, south of the coastal town of Pylos. The Coast Guard has said the cause of the accident is yet to be determined. Authorities continue to search for the hundreds of missing passengers, while fears increase that many may have drowned inside the crowded vessel's hold. Reports suggest that children are among the missing. The UNHCR said hundreds are feared missing. Title: Ukraine advances against Russian forces in counteroffensive. Ukraine is making significant gains against Russian forces in a counteroffensive along the southern and eastern front lines. The Ukrainian military has captured at least 7 settlements and 100 square kilometers of territory in 2 major pushes in the south so far. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that losing against Ukraine would mean losing the war for Russia. The conflict has caused many casualties, with corpses of Russian soldiers and burnt-out armored vehicles lining the roadside in villages newly recaptured by Ukrainian troops. The decisive battles are still to come, but Ukraine's advances are the biggest in several months. At least 15 people dead in Canada truck crash with vehicle used to carry elderly and disabled people. A tragic road accident in Manitoba, Canada, has claimed the lives of at least 15 people. A semi-trailer truck collided with a vehicle that is typically used to transport elderly and disabled individuals. The crash occurred near the town of Carberry, and if the death toll is confirmed, it would be one of the deadliest road accidents in recent Canadian history. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police and Manitoba health authorities have deployed resources to the scene for a mass casualty response. Our thoughts go out to the families and loved ones affected by this tragedy. Title: Liberal leader confirms additional allegation against Senator David Van. Liberal Party leader Peter Dutton has stated that an additional allegation against Senator David Van contributed to his expulsion from the party room following claims made by Senator Lydia Thorpe and former Senator Amanda Stoker. Stoker accused Senator Van of inappropriately touching her at a party by squeezing her bottom twice, which he apologized for and denied any recollection of. Senator Van also denied Senator Thorpe's claims of sexual harassment and assault. Dutton's decision to expel Senator Van is not a reflection on the veracity of the claims, and matters have been referred to the Parliamentary Workplace Support Service for investigation. Bags containing $2 million in cash found during SA truck stop, 2 men charged with money laundering. Police in South Australia's north have reportedly discovered more than $2 million in cash stashed in 3 bags during a truck stop. 2 men from New South Wales, aged 29 and 23, were arrested and charged with money laundering after police stopped their vehicle on the Air Highway at Port Augusta West on Thursday. The men will appear in court today. Police have refused to grant them bail. Title: **** US military secrets leak on Discord leads to indictment of Air National Guardsman. A member of the U.S. Air National Guard has been indicted by a grand jury for leaking top-secret military intelligence on Discord. Jack Douglas Teixeira, a 21-year-old from Massachusetts, is accused of transmitting classified information relating to national defense, in one of the most serious security breaches since documents appeared on WikiLeaks. The unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information can lead to a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, with a fine of up to $250,000 United States dollars. Mr. Teixeira had earlier waived his right to a preliminary hearing. U.S. man executed over 1984 killings of teenage babysitter and mother of 2. Dwayne Owen, one of Florida's longest-held death row inmates, has been executed for the rape and fatal stabbing of 14-year-old Karen Slattery and the rape and deadly hammer attack on 38-year-old Georgiana Warden, which occurred in Palm Beach County in 1984. Owen was 23 at the time of the attacks and 62 when he was executed. He also attacked 2 other women who survived. Owen's lawyers had argued that he shouldn't be executed on the grounds of insanity, but the state Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court rejected his appeals. This was Florida's fourth execution this year. Title: New South Wales paramedic's wife gives birth to their daughter after his tragic murder. The wife of paramedic Stephen Tuffer, who was fatally stabbed while on a break with his colleague, has given birth to their daughter, Lily Mae Stevie Tuffer. The New South Wales Ambulance Service announced the joyful news via social media, stating that both mother and daughter are healthy and doing well. Ryan Park, the New South Wales Health Minister, expressed his happiness for the Tuffer family and stated that discussions about a proposed reform, named Stephen's Law, to ensure the safety of first responders are ongoing. The birth of Lily Mae Stevie Tuffer brings some light to a difficult situation and offers hope for the future. Trailblazing Justice Susan Kiefel to retire early from the High Court. Susan Kiefel, Australia's first female Chief Justice of the High Court, has announced her early retirement from the bench later this year. Kiefel was set to retire in January 2024 upon turning 70, but will now leave on November 5. Justice Stephen Gageler praised her firm and gracious presence and her remarkable career that began as a legal secretary. The Attorney General will now be responsible for selecting Kiefel's replacement, and it is speculated that the next most senior justice, Justice Gageler, could become the next Chief Justice. Title: DNA identifies woman found dead in Nevada after 45 years. A woman's remains found in a garment bag 45 years ago in northern Nevada have been identified using DNA testing. Florence Charleston, a Cleveland, Ohio, woman in her late 60s, was found in a shallow grave about 860 kilometers from her new home in Portland, Oregon. It remains a mystery how Ms. Charleston ended up dead and buried so far from home. Her few surviving relatives, including niece Diane Liggett, said they had been searching for answers for years. Nevada State Police announced advancements in DNA testing had led to the identification. The investigation into her death is ongoing.